Zotora. You may have heard about him. He's a famous Didge player. And I'm Thomas Framstad, and this is Joachim Romdal. And then I introduced you Uncle Bob Brandel from Australia, and he will introduce the film. And also the music we played before we started, that was actually Bob's CD, Outback Country.
Well, Norway has beautiful country and beautiful people, and I thank you for allowing me to be in your sacred and beautiful presence. Thank you for allowing us to be with you today on behalf of my wife and Christina, who organised the whole journey for us to be here. Now, Kanyini, the word Kanyini comes from my nation, the Bindara, the Yankandara, the nations of Central Australia. In the middle of Australia, those nations, about 4 of us, are close to each other, and in the desert, you're right in the desert area, totally opposite to here. It's miles and miles you can see, you know, you can see someone coming 50 miles away, you know, if your eyes was good. But you can imagine them how far, you know. In the travelling days we used to send up smoke to tell each other we were coming. But what happened, the filmmaker was challenged in a bar in Sydney. Friday evening, all the young people had finished work, and they always gathered at a hotel to have a drink and talk about the world affairs and how to make more problems and find answers for the problems they created, you know, and have answers for it. But this time, this guy from over here, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he was from Norway. But a young man from Europe at the same age, again, between 26 to 34, that age period when they got the answers to world everything. And they were talking about Australia's culture, Aboriginal culture, and this Australian girl who'd grown up going to the best schools in Sydney. Her families had their front houses in Sydney Harbour, so that's how well off her parents were. So she was really well off, an only daughter of very rich and well off people. Yet that guy who had visited Northern Territory, visited my people, and spent time with my people, knew more about Australian culture than any one of those city folks who lived in Australia all their life. And it hit this girl, this young girl, it hit her. And she said, why is that so? And so she said, I better catch up with this guy's really offended me. And so she went out of her way to try and establish and find the Aboriginal people who are living in the city. Those of you who've been to Australia know Sydney, there is a section there where our people live called Redfern. So she'd go to the station and hang out there and try and start a conversation, but everyone just ignored her, This beautiful, white, pretty young girl just trying to pick everybody up, and they just ignoring her. And she just wanted to be a friend, but no one showed any interest in her. So she said, I'll go to the anthropological department in the library. So she went there. Then she said, oh, I can't, these words are too foreign to me. And then she came to the Sydney Library. She was going there, and all of a sudden she looked, and the book Songman, which is the one of my autobiography, dropped out. And she said, this is her story. She picked the book up and opened it. There it was, the diagram of Kanyini. Just opened up. And she looked at it. She said, this is it. This is what I need to find out about. He's talking about the culture of the local people, the indigenous people of this country. So she wrote a letter to the ABC, who were my publishers, the Australian Broadcasting Commission, and the publisher sent forward a letter on to me at Multichula, Uluru, and there's a phone number there, and I rang her back. I said, oh, of course, he asked if she'd be able to come and talk to me as like an interview. And I said, no worries. Anytime you want to, just come when you're ready. I had a phone call that weekend. This was, say, on a Wednesday. On that Saturday, I had a phone call. And, oh, I'm Melanie. I said, oh, hello, Melanie. Yes, I remember you. You want to know more about our culture. Yeah, well, when you get up, when you come here, just give us a call, and I gave her the number. She said, I'm already here. I said, where are you? She said, I'm at the airport. And my kids were here with me, all my children. And we were about to go for a picnic out bush. And I said, that girl is here. We'll have to go to the airport and pick her up, but we'll take her with us. So that's what we did. So this little woman there standing at the airport with a little pat on her back. And I said, look, if you don't mind, we're going bush. It's our picnic day. So we went out on our country, on our land, and she was able to sit with the old people while they were doing things which we do every weekend. And she started to ask questions and fit it in slowly. And I said, okay, we'll take you back to, at the end of the day, we said, we'll drop you off at the hotel. Oh, I got no room at the hotel. I said, did you make hotel accommodation arrangement? No, I didn't. I said, okay, well, you can come home with us. And we took her home, and she stayed with us. And it led to, I think, nearly 6 months of filmmaking on my community. She worked for me to do a film on the alcohol. You'll see the petrol pictures which will visually be seen. Because I had an enormous problem. I was just in the process of setting up a health service for the community. And because we didn't have one. And this one had to be community controlled, because that's the kind of projects and programs I aim for, to set up programs which is in our responsibility. Try and get that responsibility back to my people. And we had this, so I employed her to do a film on the petrol sniffing problem we had on the community. And other people that came there, and they said, why is the situation so bad for you people? I said, well, it's a long story. It'll take time to tell it to you. But when I've got time, I'll do it. You know. Then there's one time she did my work for me. She did that little 7-minute film I asked her to do. And she said, what about that thing you said you'd give me, give me the answers to the poverty of the situation your people are living in. I said, oh, okay. So reluctantly she came with she booked 2 cameramen from Channel 7 in Sydney. And they all turned up there and took photos on the land, took pictures of the land, interviewed me on the land, but wasn't any good. And then when she showed it, someone said, you should bring that van down here. And they flew me down, and you'll see the interviews in a bedroom. I had 3 cameras, and be careful. Don't ever employ me to tell your story, because you're going to have a day to listen to it. So I spoke 4 hours straight with 3 cameras changing batteries. You'll see that on the film. It just happened in that one. It was only there for a day. I had other things to do elsewhere, you know. But I took the day off to fly down to Sydney, stay there, do the film, and then I flew back home again. So it was to answer the question about the terrible situation our people have seen, and many visitors from other countries are wondering. That question is, why are the people who are owners of this land in such a state of poverty and helplessness and hopelessness? And so I hope you'll be able to have some questions for me after the film. Thank you once again for coming. I really appreciate it. By 2 boys. They hadn't gone through business yet, which is they hadn't gone into the ceremony of turning boys into men. So there were 2 boys. They came in from the west, the direction of the sunset. And they started off playing at the spot we call Kadachuchu. And its makeup consists of conglomerate, geologically in a big boulders and things cemented together with huge running and loose mud during the about 700 million years ago, when the center had volcanoes and eruptions going on in that creation period. And that formed Kadachuta, which has very high domes as well. The word Kadachuta means many heads. And you can see, if you go to Centros, you'll see those domes like many heads, from wherever distance you're looking at it. After they did that, they wasn't quite happy with that. The 2 boys got up and said, we're leaving that one. Let's go and catch up our mother. Their mothers were travelling from South Australia across Australia to the centre. And the 2 boys headed that way. Then it rained, just where the site where Uluru was. And the sand was really wet, like the tide going out on a beach. And they said, let's see if we can build a house here. And they built these, kept pulling the sands together, built these, this sand castle, just higher, higher and higher and higher, till the top of it was in amongst the clouds. And then they'd walk up, and then they'd slide down on the western side of Uluru. And they had this fun. Then they overheard voices of men, and they listened. They said, these men are here, getting ready to grab. Boys, let's get out of here. So they stopped the game of climbing and sliding down Uluru, and they sneaked around the southern end and went straight towards the flat-top mountain you may have seen on the film Attila, or Mount Connor, white people call it. And then they connected with their mothers in Alice Springs. Their mothers were from the group that related to the Pleiades stars, the 7 sisters. And the 7 sisters camped on our property at Angusdown Station. which you saw a little bit of with those two big gum trees where I was taken away from. And so we got these Chilkupa stories, song lines, story track, which is still followed during the turning boys into men during the initiation period. And that's the story of our Uluru. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. It's amazing what kids can do, eh?
Last question. My name is Carl. First of all, Mr. Randall, thank you very much for a very moving film clip and coming here and teaching us about your history, your culture, your Kanyini belief systems, your family relations, land, and spirituality from your culture. I wonder, you're showing us a big part of the history about the Australian authorities, how your people have been handled, and how you have tried to tackle all these changes. You traveled as far as you possibly could get from Australia to Norway, and I guess we all are quite moved to see this movie and how your people is living today. But as well, thinking about how our culture and the Nordic people have treated their indigenous people up north in the northern territories, I think we see quite much similarities. And Mr. Randall, I hope your visit here can as well enforce to teach each other about this culture and about the indigenous problems in moving into new areas of time. And I will invite you to get in contact with our Samic Parliament President, if I may, to get in contact and have conversations. And I'm sure it is very much to learn from each other. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is the Monthly meeting tonight? Talking about that. Oh, another one, okay. Thank you for that. Of course, I'm always wanting to meet people who've had similar experience, and wherever I've shown Kanyini, the indigenous people relate to it. Because you can't help but relate to it. Because each one of us who are indigenous and citizens of each of our own country in our own space and was colonized had the same experience. I showed it in London. The Jamaicans, you know, London, East London especially, there are many nationalities living there, and they all said, I was just telling their own story.
Is there a question?
Yes. I don't know if it's a question. I get in touch with feeling a strong shame when I see your movie. Being white and being representative of this colonialistic society and heritage. And at the same time, I feel lost as well. And when you talk about Kanyini, I feel, that is the missing part for me, you know? I want to thank you for showing me the way. And I think that what you finished with, an invitation to take part together. I take the invitation. Thank you very much.
Yes?
Hi. I guess it's a long time since we were all treated like your society was, and I have not a large memory of living in harmony, but I guess somewhere we all used to do that, and we were all taken away. And, well, that's why it might be difficult for us to find the way back, because within, like we showed in the movie, taken into institutionalized, school, whatever, taken away from families into a world which we try to surviving. And I guess that's maybe even the explanation of why it's even more difficult for us to live life, maybe hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago, live. You can feel a connection to what you're talking about.
Thank you, Vegard. I forgot. I was thinking it's very late. Starting with and respect ourselves and respect each other. And that's what I'm going to say, and that's what I'm trying to do. To start with myself and ask everybody to start for themselves as good as they can.
Oh, wow.
Because you can never take back what was before. You just have to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem we have. That we are not in the moment. We are always ahead or in the past. Always dreaming about something we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting something we don't have. Because we can't see the moment. And stay where we are, in ourselves, in our hearts. So thank you for bringing this up to the surface and showing us your ideas, your spirit, and everything you are representative of. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to also thank you for coming here, honor your presence, and also to let you know and remind those of us here who are white Norwegians that we also have a heritage which is not too old, of appreciating the mountains in our place and the waterfalls and the land that we're living on. And even here in Oslo, many of us travel to the forest for small or big trips. Sometimes we go visit dramatic mountains. Other times we appreciate the little plants that are growing through the tarmac, where the come from property. And we have that among ourselves. And we don't need to forget that. We can remember that this is still alive in us. And I also have a specific question for you. I noticed at the beginning of the film, before it was shown, that there is a warning that there are pictures of people who are now dead. It's the second time I've seen that. And myself, somebody who was very, very dear to me is dead. And I know that sometimes I really appreciate looking at pictures from him and of him and listening to his voice and recording. And other times I don't want that at all. And I really try to honor that voice inside me. But I would be really interested to learn a little more about that particular part of your spiritual world that is more inside the world.
That's a very good question. And it is good you've raised it. I can only talk very briefly of it. Because in our culture, in fact, I lost my wife quite young. And I still had 2 little kids to grow up, and this is about 12, 14 years ago. But the moment she died, relatives came, and all our wedding photos with us both with our children, came down off the walls. Her name wasn't allowed to be spoken, because she had now left the physical, where human and gone back into the sacredness. And her name even was too sacred for us to even mention. And it's that respect for the spiritual and its sacredness and the freedom they chose when they decided to go. They need to travel on. Death is another beginning. It's not an end in my culture. And each one of us can experience that. But if you approach it with confidence, wow, what's next I'm going to do? you don't leave your family in sorrow or sadness. Just ask them to, if you have time, just let me go, I'll be okay. And I'll do my best to try and watch over you people and help you and guide you. Now, in the spirit world, there's no time, because it's so different. And time is non-existent. And as humans, so it's a very good point you raised, you know, our really important thing is to live in the moment, with each moment we've got. That's the best way. You can deal with the moment. Don't waste your time on yesterday. Don't argue over your partner or wife, children, anything but what they didn't do or did do yesterday. It's pointless. Don't even waste your time going down that track. You'll never sort it out. But to deal with what's the issues of the moment, really you may be able to negotiate changes that might make you both happy or satisfied with life. And all you need to do is live in that even keel where you're considering other people who have rights. But extend that to your environment. As you said, I love the pictures I've seen about Norway was always your fjords and your high mountains, snow-capped mountains, and your beautiful animals, which I've yet to see. You know, that I'd like to have a look at that good old moose, if they say it somewhere, and some of the other beautiful animals you have here. And but it's them, because in your beauty, they too retain a beauty that is part of you, and you retain the beauty that is part of them. So all you meeting on your own land is other members of your family in their state of being, which they chose, and they too have spirits. According to our culture, every living thing has. So we mustn't think because we can't communicate with them or listen to their language that they don't. It's our fault for advancing technology for self, and neglecting them that we're unable to communicate with them. We've just said, mine. We started to call it, planets in, creating our own planets in airways when we destroy the Earth. And we all know we're going to destroy the Earth. The economic system will destroy us and the Earth. We know that. I've got over 200 years of history to prove it in my country. There are so many species with a non-existence since the English colonized us. And eventually we will destroy ourselves. It's going down that pathway. Unless, in mass, every single one of us reclaim the families who are not human and have no voting rights in our system. But legally, spiritually, psychically, and rightly so, every living thing has equal rights. Mother Earth is real, it's alive. Her sister, Mother Sun is real, it's alive. So is every other planet in the universe. And every living thing on Earth is equal to each other. You will live your time, that's equal. You will die when your time has come, so will they. They take food from the land, we take food from the land. We are exactly the same. They have children, we have children. There's no difference. If we can just come to start and stop putting things down because they're not us, and even stop putting people down because they're not like us, they're not like me, we can create the kind of ideal world of that oneness I think every one of us wants, where distribution of goods, food especially, can be shared amongst them. Now it's so close, the whole global closeness as family is a reality today. Look, I'm here from Norway, my wife's from America, we met each other in Australia, and we're here with you. It is so, and that just takes us a few hours to get here. A little bit longer from Australia to America, and just a few hours to come from America to here. Technology has kept it just me, mine. If we can extend that to the rights of other living things and then learn from those through our advanced technology, what are they saying about us? What are the moose saying about us? What's the trees saying about us? What's the ocean saying about us? Are they liking us for what we're doing? That's affecting them. And then we can learn to listen, and when we listen and we say, this is the best way to go, we can each take that responsibility with what we've got in the moment. Each one of us can only give what abilities you have. And that is all that life expects of each one of us. Just smile at your neighbour and say hello to the person you meet that's next to you. Say hi to each other as often as you possibly can. And love yourself and love others equally. And love every living thing in your environment, because you are related. My culture teaches me that I'm related to every living thing at home, and I know your culture would have been the same when you was at that indigenousness. Because I think we all go back to the time when we just knew that we were with family, when each one of us was on our own land.
Yes, just have a brief follow-up question. I can see that pathway you described, because it's so close to my nose. And I just wonder, what kind of global, it's a hypothetical question, but what kind of global crisis do we have to experience before we are really in each of us able to make the small and big moves in our lives, not follow that pathway? But because just now I bought this thing, and it's a lot of packing, it's a lot of paper. I didn't think very much about the environment for my body. And I drive the car to the job. Well, I can buy. It's a lot of things I can do.
Yeah.
So for each one of us, we will change. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. It comes from self.
It has to be happening.
Self. Everything comes back to self and from self. And wherever you are, you take the steps in what you can do, truly. And if everybody accept that as their responsibility and their way of living, we can change the world and create it. We can also do campaigning and mass voting. But, that's a big open argument with what the opposition. There'll always be opposition to the right things, to the rightness. That's the right of all of us. But I believe every opportunity we have of open dialogue with each other and with every stranger you meet in the streets of Oslo and elsewhere, do it. Do it. Get to know each other. I went to Sydney and I promised myself I'm going to make a new friend every morning I jump on the train. Wherever I'm sitting, the people in that little carriage, I'm going to say hi to and find out where they're from. And I did it. But I didn't make one friend. I knew everybody was travelling down that train to Sydney and back. There were dozens of them. What amazed me, what the similarities of places where we've been really almost met each other. Not only in Australia, but throughout the world as well. Where we just bypassed each other. It is amazing how small the world really is. And many times we'll cross paths or get really close to almost saying hi. And if we say hi to each other, we can say, when we meet again, hello, it's good to see you. And it's a beautiful feeling to be able to say that. I totally agree with you. Each one of us must create situations where we can do as much good as we can and care for our environment.
Was there? Hi. I'll repeat the question.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that your culture will survive?
Do you think there's any possibility of your culture to survive?
No.
At all?
No. No, history here, history records every good culture will go. And we'll all be drowned, dominated and taken over by the economic system and society. No matter how far you go back, you can just see it, the writing's on the wall, and wow, I need big proof to change that kind of thinking. But within myself and where I live, I still got the old world. So, and that's what you guys need to do. It's got to come from self, really, of what do you want for you where you are.
Yes. I'm provoked now. Because you're here. And you're bringing, you're talking about your culture and you're sharing it with us.
Yes.
And you're talking about the rightness, which is your culture. I mean, all the details of your culture, that can change. But the rightness is always there, available, accessible to us, isn't it?
Yeah, if you choose that, yeah. Yeah, the choice always come back to self. See, each weekend me and my wife, we go out and really re-establish relationship with our country, which we call it that, Go and dig the honey ant, dig up the widgeted grubs and get other foods and sing songs, the women dancing and the men that are walking or making tools and weapons. We're still doing that as was done by our grandparents and great-grandparents. And that establishes our connection with the past. Just doing what they used to do in the past and enjoying what we're doing and using modern technology to be able to get us from home, from Mudijula out to the bush where we need to go to do that. That's how we establish our connection.
There's voice there?
Uncle Bob, I would like to propose just exactly the opposite thesis here, that not only that your culture will live, but that we all have to learn how to live your culture.
Thank you. That's so good. I agree.
There's voice here?
The last quote in the film about the elders and the government working together to end the abuse system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's happened. You've probably seen the tin to many of the people's nose, and that's petrol, the oil, the fuel you're using to run your cars. It had a part in it that could really give you a high, probably similar to drugs, and sometimes a lot of alcohol. And we were very concerned because we got sick and tired of burying our young youth. Made us all trying to prevent the suicide that was taking place, on a regular basis. The kids, the parents of those children who were on that, addicted to that petrol sniffing, we call it, was worn out beyond overdoing. They were so tired and so made us all feel so sorry for them. So we negotiated with the government, look, let's get together with the company and see what can be done. The fuel company said, you need lots of money to work with the fuel and take that part that gives you the high out of the fuel. But eventually the government said, okay, we'll do it for you. And we just kept pressing. Because we're just losing our kids, really. We're doing once a month, had 2 deaths from suicide. And it was wearing us all out. And the government said, okay. And they got together with the company, and the government put up the money, and the company started scientifically working on what ingredients in that fuel they could take it, and they did that. And the new fuel now that is selling in the state of Northern Territory is called opal. It hasn't got the component in that fuel that gives you a high, that gives the kids a high. And so we've gotten rid of it in our community. I like to touch wood, that will remain like that now. Because it was an enormous sad time when we had to bury so many of our young people and take care of the ones who were sick, because it did affect the brain and sent them a little bit off, not quite right. but the addiction was costing everybody a lot of sadness.
I think there's a voice on the back.
I have a question. The people knew so much about the trees, the plants, the earth, and how to use them for healing, sicknesses, and illness. You know that this knowledge is taken care of. The scientists is now looking at the book. That is taken care of, or still, that is still exists. But it still exists, the knowledge about your work and everything. You can books question if they are still taking care of those
medicine.
Yes, about the plants, about the trees and everything.
Yeah, we have now reached the level where we can make our bush medicine, we call it. And a couple of my relatives in the town of Alice Spring are really producing and marketing some of the old medicines from the many plants in the Arandak Nations country. And we're doing the same where we are too. You know, before we could only take it in its natural state. And there are so many medicine plants that's available in our country, and probably would be available in your country too. The plants, there are so many plants who are healing plants, who are spiritual plants, who are artist plants, just like people. They are exactly the same. You know, we call them doctor plants, historical plants. They're there. Just a matter of us learning to communicate with them.
There's the back row, Christian. Very cool.
I would like to ask you, Norway is kind of on the top of this economy. What can people do? How can they raise money and donate to the people? In what way we can do that?
What we like to do and what we like to raise money, accept donations on, to be able to set up these Kanyini camps. And we like to set that up through, not only on where we are, but as well as where we are, throughout the world. Like we're hoping that we'll set one up here in Oslo at the, what do you call it, the Tai Chi Center there. And then we've got an offer in the United States for centers there, we've got there, and we have quite a number in Australia, different parts of Australia where we can set up teaching centers. And what happens, you just got to kickstart the project. Is the people who own the sites offer their land, and we go there and we start. We may fund one program, second program, but from the fourth onward, it's independent. It runs itself. So that's the success I've had in Australia. Once you just, and that's the kind of funds that we require. That it is to continue expanding opportunities where people can come together and share aspects of cultural information and setting up, and we call it Kanyini Center, because the basis of Kanyini is teaching unconditional love with responsibility and relationship with all living, that oneness. And we would love to have these centers right throughout the world and people working from those centers wherever they're living, and establish a good relationship with, like here, if it's the Tai Chi Center here in Oslo, then encourage lots of country visits and experts who know about the plant, the hills, the plants, the animals, the reptile, the birds, to come and give lessons of establishing our relationship, about each and other living things in your own country, which are your family. It's only us humans that may deny that. The animals don't, the plants don't. Mother Earth don't. Mother can't. She loves us all. And her mother sun don't. And she don't say, I'm not going to shine on you, you've been a naughty adult. Mother Earth don't say, you know. It's only us. We say that to our children. We shouldn't say that to our children.
Yes, there is here.
Yes. Are you now working together with your government? Are they really grasping the idea that they have lost something and they can take care of it now? Or
I love that question. Oh, I wish they would, but no, unfortunately. Well, they're interested in my teachings. And really, it was the Governor General that came, and I spoke to him and his wife, and I gave them my book, Songman, and I gave them my cassette with the songs. I gave them all, and I gave him a film of Kanyini. And he went and he called a meeting with the Prime Minister then, John Howard, and he said, look, John Howard, we got something here we could include in the whole of Australia education system. And John Howard, a Liberal Party member, not that it makes any difference, but he was a man who took everything away from us. And his party took everything away from us. And he said, oh, no, that's only one man's position, you know. There are other people who don't see things like that, which I suppose included him. So he knocked what the Governor-General was proposing. We have introduced into the whole of this education system. But even with that happening, there are 3 states already taking it in. They're writing their own curriculum. They're trying it out in schools and colleges, and it's working. And they're running it. Curriculum based on the Kanyini principles. And wherever they've used it, and I'm talking about months of testing, a whole year, 12 months working with children, has been really successful. The kids get it. And if we can start at that level and then take it to at all level, Aboriginal culture itself now is being accepted by the government. They do honour the traditional owners when they stand up and have to open up, give an address, especially if it's in regard to Aboriginal issues, Indigenous issues. They will say, on behalf of the government, we wish to pay our respect to the carers, to the Aboriginal people of this nation. So it's starting.
But because that's really the center and the essence of everything. And it's a really, really huge need to bring that up now. And I think that what you are talking about and what you're showing us, that's something we really, really need. And I think it's forced to be brought forward, actually. So I'm just waiting to see, doing my part and hoping and praying that everything is going that way, because that's the way we're going to do life.
It needs to go.
Planet, yeah.
It needs
because
to.
It doesn't only.
I have to.
Okay, yeah.
You can come here. Next time.
I'm sure there are many of us who would like to go to Australia and go to Uluru. Can you give us some advice or suggestions?
Wow. I think this one is my Christy here. Christy. She found me. Her story is really interesting, and she could really answer that.
Okay. This is Ann-Kristin Ulriksen, who is the contact person for Bob while he's here in Norway. Maybe when you're here, you can also tell about the next plans for Bob while he's still in Norway.
Yeah, thank you. I found you because he said in the film, he said, come out to Uluru and see how we are doing. And so I did, and I went there to see them, and I didn't call either. Waiting under a tree for 3 hours, someone from the Aboriginal community picked me up, and I said, you know where Uncle Bob lives, and they drove me out to I swear to get there, but I can tell and share an easier way, because a friend of mine, Kristi Alfredsen, she is going to open up for journey to Mutachulu community, to see the real Aboriginal community, not the touristy version of Uluru or anything. And she will start tours in April. So if you contact me either on Facebook or anything, please do Ann-Kristin Ulriksen, and I'll put you in contact with Kristi, and she'll tell you more about the journey. And the other thing I wanted to share is also tomorrow night at the Tai Chi Center at Österhavnelaget. We will put up another, tomorrow night, sorry, Monday.
Monday, yes.
Monday 7:30. will talk more about Kanyini principles. So everyone that would like to participate is welcome to come there. And last, I also wish to, for the 4 last years I've been painting. If anyone feels like donating anything for the Aboriginal people, I'll give away my original art as a thank you. Because I would really love to support this man and the work he's doing. So please make contact for that as well. I have hundreds of paintings.
Have you left your card, your photo card by the door so we can pick it up?
Yeah, well, I don't have. But
You
I'm
can ask, you can send a mail to us in the film club if you need to get in touch.
Under
I have
Mom's
to-
tin, there's information on Uncle Tim.
Yeah.
Right.
And one more thing, like this last thing, that you need to hear this song. I just please, because the brown skin baby song actually changed the law in Australia. They stopped stealing the children because it got to be known outside Australia what they were doing. The documentary about Uncle Bob was made, translated into 8 languages, and the fact that people outside of Australia got to know this stopped it. So this song, I think you need to sing that.
So
And we end with that.
We'll finish now because of the time, and we'll finish with Bob singing this song, and then we'll have to go out from this space. So, out of space and time. Yeah.
I'll do the chorus in my mother's language and the verses in English.
As a young preacher I used to ride a quiet pony round the countryside in a native town. I'll never forget a young black mother, her cheeks all wet. Between her sobs I heard her say, "Police been taking my baby away from white man boss, that baby I have. Why he let him take baby away? Why you? Why you? Tiji apa jangan you boya kadengo. To a children's home a baby came with new clothes on and a new name. Day and night he would always say, "Oh mommy, mommy, why they take me away? Why you? Why you? Tiji apa jangan you boya kadengo." The child grew ago from a mission home that he loved so. To find his mother he tried in vain. Upon this earth they never met again. My brown skin baby, they taking away. Tiji Vegard, my you